Hello everyone and welcome to my Y&R Trends channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The air in the Grand Chancellor estate often carried a certain weight, a mixture of old money and newer anxieties, but today it was different. For Lily Winters, the very molecules of the room seemed to hum with a new chilling purpose. The initial soul-crushing shock of seeing the video, that damning evidence of her own brother and her trusted COO conspiring to undermine her, to steal what she had built from the ground up, had not subsided so much as it had undergone a terrifying metamorphosis. The hot, blinding tears had dried, leaving behind a cold, crystalline clarity. The grief, a raw and open wound, was now being meticulously stitched shut with threads of a cold, calculating fury. This was no longer about the personal betrayal, though that ache was a constant, low thrum in her chest. This was about a fundamental violation of trust, of family, and of the company that was her legacy. She had offered Kane a position, a future, a place at her side when he had nothing, and he had spat on that generosity. She had given Phyllis Summers chance after chance, believing in her chaotic but brilliant mind, only to have that trust used as a weapon against her. The emotional storm had passed, and in its wake, a strategist was born. Lily was no longer just a CEO or a sister. She was a spymaster preparing for a war she never asked for, and her first, most crucial decision was to let them believe they had won. This decision, to play the part of the oblivious, wounded leader, was the cornerstone of her entire plan. She practiced her expressions in the mirror, the slight tremble of the lip when discussing company morale, the weary sigh when signing off on a document Phyllis had helpfully prepared. She made a point of being seen looking tired and distracted at the Genoa City Athletic Club, of confiding in a worried Daniel Romalotti that the pressure of the merger was taking a toll, that she was perhaps struggling to keep up. It was a masterpiece of psychological manipulation, a performance worthy of an award, because every feigned moment of weakness was, in reality, an act of immense strength. She fed their arrogance, their condescending belief that she was in over her head, a sentiment she knew they shared behind her back. She allowed Phyllis to take on more responsibilities, to chair meetings she would normally run herself, all while watching with detached amusement as Phyllis's ambition bloomed like a poisonous flower. She saw the subtle glances exchanged between her and Kane in the hallways, the coded language they used in meetings, and she catalogued it all, a silent witness to their own unfolding hubris. They were building their house of cards, and Lily was the still, calm air before the hurricane that would inevitably blow it all down. But a performance, no matter how convincing, was not enough. To truly annihilate them, she needed irrefutable proof, a web of evidence so tight there would be no room for their trademark excuses, their manipulative tears, or their dramatic justifications. This required allies, a dangerous prospect in a city where loyalties shifted with the wind. Her first and most crucial confidant was Devin Hamilton. Their relationship, forged in shared business ventures and a deep, familial bond, was her bedrock. Confiding in him was both a relief and a strategic necessity. His initial reaction was a mirror of her own, a cold, quiet rage that someone would dare to attack what they had built together. He became her silent partner in the investigation, his resources and his calm, analytical mind a perfect counterbalance to her simmering anger. Together, they began a covert operation. They hired a discreet, ex-government cybersecurity expert to monitor Kane and Phyllis's digital footprints, their encrypted messages, and their financials. They needed to trace the money, find the shell companies, and document every single step of their conspiracy. It was a painstaking process, like assembling a jigsaw puzzle in the dark, but piece by piece, the picture was forming. They discovered phantom vendors, inflated invoices, and suspicious transfers to offshore accounts that Kane, with his intimate knowledge of the company's financial safeguards, had expertly rerouted. Meanwhile, Lily had to maintain a facade of normalcy in her personal life, which proved to be its own unique hell. Family dinners became exercises in emotional torture. Sitting across from Kane, watching him laugh and play with the children, listening to him offer her brotherly advice, made her stomach churn. The hypocrisy was so thick she could barely breathe. He would look her in the eye and ask if she was feeling better, his voice dripping with a concern that was now revealed to be utterly hollow. She learned to smile, a tight, practiced gesture that didn't reach her eyes, and to answer in vague pleasantries. Every hug felt like a betrayal, every shared memory a lie. She found herself studying him, this man she had loved as family, searching for the telltale signs of the duplicity that now defined him. Was there a flicker of guilt when he looked at her? A moment of hesitation before he spoke? She saw nothing but the confident mask of a man who believed he was getting away with the perfect crime. This emotional gauntlet, however, served only to harden her resolve. It stripped away any last, lingering sentimental attachments, transforming her heart into a vault where she stored her evidence and her rage, safe from their prying eyes. The investigation soon revealed that their plot was more sophisticated than she had initially feared. It wasn't just embezzlement. It was a coordinated takeover. Phyllis, using her position and her infamous talent for gathering compromising information, was quietly undermining Lily's authority with the board of directors. She was planting seeds of doubt, suggesting that Lily's vision for the merged company was unfocused and emotionally driven, subtly positioning herself as the stable, experienced alternative. Kane's role was the financial sabotage, creating small, manageable crises that would, over time, erode confidence in Lily's leadership and make a sudden board-mandated change in management seem like a necessary rescue mission. They were playing a long game, a fact that made their betrayal all the more insidious. They weren't acting in a moment of passion or desperation. This was a cold, calculated, and patiently executed plan to seize control. Lily and Devon's digital sleuth managed to intercept a series of encrypted messages that laid it all out in stunning detail. They discussed timelines, key personnel to manipulate, and even potential fall guys should their scheme begin to unravel. Reading their own words, their casual cruelty and their arrogant assumptions about her naivete was like reading her own obituary, written by the people she had trusted most. As the mountain of evidence grew, the question was no longer if she would strike, but when and how. A public, messy confrontation was tempting, a raw and emotional showdown for all of Genoa City to see. But Lily rejected that impulse. She would not give them the satisfaction of a dramatic scene, nor would she allow them to play the victim. They had operated in the shadows using deception and manipulation. She would defeat them in the light, with cold, hard, undeniable facts. The setting had to be perfect, a stage of her own choosing where they would have no escape. She decided on an emergency board meeting. The agenda would be vague, listed only as a matter of corporate security and fiduciary responsibility, a title ominous enough to ensure full attendance but bland enough not to arouse suspicion from her two targets. She personally ensured that both Phyllis and Kane would be present, using the pretext that she needed their unique insights on a sensitive matter. The stage was set. In the days leading up to the meeting, Lily was a portrait of serene composure. She dressed with impeccable, powerful elegance, her demeanor calm and inscrutable. She was the eye of the hurricane, a perfect, terrifying calm. The morning of the board meeting dawned with a peculiar stillness. Lily arrived early, standing alone in the sleek, modern conference room, her fingers trailing across the polished mahogany table. She could feel the weight of the USB drive in her blazer pocket, a small plastic object that contained the power to shatter lives and reshape the future of her company. One by one, the board members filed in, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and mild concern. Devon took his seat, offering her a nearly imperceptible nod, their silent signal of solidarity. Then came Phyllis, buzzing with a performative energy, already launching into a monologue about a new marketing initiative, completely unaware that her world was about to implode. Finally, Kane entered, looking every bit the concerned executive, taking the seat beside her and offering a warm, brotherly smile that now felt like the kiss of Judas. Lily met his gaze evenly, her own smile a faint, cold curve of her lips. The meeting was called to order. For the first 10 minutes, she allowed the charade to continue. She let Phyllis present her irrelevant report. She let Kane comment on a minor budget line item. She let them feel comfortable, secure in their positions atop their fraudulent throne. Then, when the moment was perfectly ripe, she cleared her throat. The room fell silent. "Thank you all for your reports," she began, her voice steady and clear, devoid of any of the hesitation she had feigned for weeks. "But there is one final critical item on the agenda today. A matter that goes to the very heart of our company's integrity and our future." She could feel, rather than see, Kane and Phyllis tense beside her. She stood slowly, commanding the room's attention. For several weeks now, I have been made aware of a coordinated effort to destabilize this company, to deliberately sabotage our financial health, and to manipulate this board into a change in leadership for the personal gain of 2 individuals in this very room. A collective, sharp intake of breath echoed around the table. Phyllis's face, for a fleeting second, was a mask of pure, unadulterated panic before she quickly composed herself into an expression of outraged innocence. Kane's was a study in forced confusion. "Lily, what on earth are you talking about?" he asked, his voice a masterful blend of concern and bewilderment. "This is a very serious accusation." "It is," Lily agreed, her eyes locking with his. "And I have the evidence to support every word." She inserted the USB drive into the conference room monitor. For the next 20 minutes, the room was silent save for the methodical, devastating click of Lily's presentation remote. She showed them the financial transfers, the intercepted messages displayed in stark black and white, the timelines of their conspiracy, and even a few carefully edited audio clips from the security expert's surveillance. She presented it not with hysterical accusation, but with the cool, detached precision of a prosecutor delivering a closing argument. She laid out their entire plot, from its petty beginnings to its grandiose conclusion, exposing every lie, every stolen dollar, every manipulative conversation. She showed Phyllis's emails to a board member, subtly questioning Lily's competence. She displayed Kane's coded messages about creating controllable crises. The air in the room grew thick with shock and disgust. Phyllis tried to interrupt, her voice rising in a frantic, desperate pitch, accusing Lily of paranoia and of setting her up, but her words were swallowed by the overwhelming weight of the evidence. Kane simply sat, his face ashen, his carefully constructed world collapsing around him in utter, undeniable silence. He didn't look at the screen. He looked only at Lily, and in his eyes, she saw not an apology, but a dawning horrified realization that he had underestimated her completely. When the final slide was shown, Lily turned off the monitor. The silence that followed was absolute, profound. She looked at each board member in turn, seeing the judgment in their eyes, the unified front of condemnation forming against the 2 conspirators. "This is not just a betrayal of me," Lily said, her voice soft but carrying immense power. "This is a betrayal of every person in this company, of our shareholders, and of the legacy we are all here to uphold. It is a violation of the very trust that business and family is built upon." She then turned her gaze to Phyllis and Kane. "Your positions at this company are terminated, effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building. You will be hearing from our legal team shortly." There were no screaming matches, no physical altercations, just the quiet, brutal efficiency of justice being served. As the stunned board members began to murmur amongst themselves, and as security arrived at the door, Lily finally allowed herself to feel it. Not the hot glow of vengeance, but the cold, profound satisfaction of a necessary task completed. She had not just exposed them. She had systematically dismantled them, using their own arrogance and deceit as the very tools of their destruction. The path forward would be complicated, filled with legal battles and personal fallout. But in this moment, standing tall in the ruins of their dark plot, Lily Winters was no longer a victim. She was a queen who had just decisively reclaimed her throne. That evening, the soft hum of the city outside was drowned out by the storm brewing inside Lily's mind. The day had been long, filled with meetings she barely heard and conversations she barely remembered. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Phyllis's smug smile, Kane's familiar charm turned manipulative, and the shadows of their secret alliance. The thought of them laughing at her, believing she was too naive to uncover their deceit, made her blood boil. After hours of pacing her apartment, Lily finally sat down at her laptop. She opened the secure folder where she had stored all her evidence, emails, financial transfers, encrypted messages, and screenshots of transactions routed through shell corporations. Each one connected Phyllis and Kane in a way that would be impossible to explain away once exposed. But as she stared at the data, she knew she needed more. She needed a smoking gun. Something that would not just hint at betrayal but prove intent. She took a deep breath and called her contact in IT. "It's Lily. I need access to the archive server logs from last quarter," she said. "Everything connected to the Chancellor Winters marketing division, and anything tied to Kane's consulting firm." The voice on the other end hesitated. That could take a while, Lily. It's not exactly standard procedure. Do it quietly, she replied, her tone steady. No one needs to know I asked. As she hung up, her thoughts drifted back to Kane. How easily he could charm people into trusting him. How good he was at pretending his motives were noble. It was that same gift that had made her fall for him once upon a time. She could still remember the way he used to look at her. How genuine he'd seemed. But that version of Kane was long gone. The man he'd become was a stranger. A desperate, power-hungry schemer willing to destroy her reputation just to feel important again. Meanwhile, at the Grand Phoenix, Phyllis was in her element. She sat at the bar, a glass of red wine in hand, her lips curling into a satisfied smile. She had just finished a call with Kane, assuring him their plan was moving forward. You just keep pushing those numbers through your firm, she'd said. I'll handle the rest. By the time Lily figures out what's happening, Chancellor Winters will be in freefall, and she'll be begging us to step in. But as Phyllis ended the call, she caught her reflection in the mirror and paused. For a fleeting moment she felt something, guilt maybe, or fear. She'd been down this road before, schemes that had started with confidence and ended in disaster. But this time she told herself it would be different. This time she'd win. Across town, Kane sat alone in his hotel suite, staring at the stack of paper spread across his table. His conscience wasn't as quiet as he wanted it to be. You're doing this for justice, he muttered to himself. Lily took everything from you, your job, your reputation. She deserves to feel what you felt. But deep down, a part of him knew it wasn't justice driving him. It was bitterness. And Phyllis, with her fiery ambition and reckless courage, had fanned that bitterness into a full-blown fire. The next morning, Lily arrived at Chancellor Winters early. Devon was already there, seated in the conference room, reviewing a report. He looked up when she walked in and frowned slightly. You've been quiet lately, he said. Is everything okay? Lily hesitated. She wanted to tell him everything, but she couldn't. Not yet. I'm fine, she said, forcing a small smile. Just focused. Devon studied her for a moment, clearly unconvinced. Focused on what? On protecting what's ours, she replied. He tilted his head. From who? Before she could answer, Billy walked in carrying a folder. He gave Lily a brief, knowing glance before turning to Devon. I've been looking into a few things, and we might have a problem. Devon frowned. What kind of problem? Billy laid the folder on the table. It looks like someone's been leaking internal projections. Nothing major yet, but enough to cause trouble if it keeps up. Lily's stomach tightened. And you think it's coming from? Billy nodded. Kane's firm. Devon's expression darkened. Kane? Are you serious? Serious as a heart attack, Billy said. And I think Phyllis might be tied to it too. She's been too close to this whole situation, playing nice with everyone all of a sudden. It doesn't add up. Lily exhaled slowly, pretending to process the information, though inside she was already steps ahead. We'll handle it, she said firmly. Quietly. For now. After the meeting, Devon stopped her in the hallway. Lily, what's really going on? You're not telling me everything, are you? She met his gaze, her voice barely above a whisper. Not yet. But trust me, Devon, when I do, you'll understand why I had to keep it quiet. He nodded reluctantly. Just don't do anything you can't take back. That night, Lily's contact called back. I found something, he said. You might want to see this. Within minutes, Lily was staring at her screen in disbelief. There it was, the final piece. An encrypted email exchange between Phyllis and Kane outlining their entire plan, complete with instructions on how to manipulate financial statements and create controlled chaos at Chancellor Winters. The subject line read, Phase 3, Lily's Fall. Lily's heart pounded as she saved the file. She'd done it. She had proof. But as she sat there, staring at the glowing monitor, she realized something. Phyllis and Kane weren't going to go down quietly. Once she exposed them, they would retaliate. And in Genoa City, revenge always came with collateral damage. Still, Lily's decision was made. Tomorrow she would begin phase 1 of her own plan. By morning, everyone would know that Lily Winters was done playing nice.